Excellent. So, welcome to Towergate Insurance, to Diane Capehorn, Hayden Dodds. We are live on Facebook for this members question and answer session. Nina is here from ANLP along with myself, and we're welcoming you today to ask some questions about the importance of insurance. Towergate are going to give us a overview of why insurance is interesting. I'm going to be juggling a Facebook PC on my left as well to look at any questions, and we have welcome to Kim Rogers as well. Hello Kim, are you with us? So I'd just like to start off by introducing Diane and Hayden. Diane's my contact at Towergate. Diane, would you like to sort of give us a quick overview of the relationship between ANLP and Towergate?
Yeah, absolutely. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining. Our relationship with the ANLP has been certainly growing through 2020, through the pandemic. We've been very pleased to be able to help and support members through this very difficult time. We offer professional indemnity, professional liability and cyber insurance as part of a membership benefit to ANLP members. And we do offer discounted rates, which in part of the presentation we will cover this afternoon. What we'd like to do this afternoon is very much talk about how we work together in partnership with ANLP, how we see the relationship growing in 2021, and absolutely get your feedback as to how you would like your insurance relationship with your association to be moving forwards.
Excellent, thank you. We've just got some more people joining us at the moment. Vivian's coming on as well. Hello Vivian, how are you? Can you hear us?
Hello.
Hello Vivian, how are you?
Hi, I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
Good, yes, very well, thank you. Thanks for joining us. Okay, I'm gonna hand over to Diane first to go through a presentation. Would you like me to do that now, Diane?
If you could please, if you could turn the slide, as they say, thank you.
Okay, 2 seconds.
Lovely. Okay, while Cash is doing that, I'll just introduce you to your presentation team this afternoon, which is myself. I'm Diane Capehorn. I'm Head of Business Development for the Caring Professions Division, particularly looking after the professional risks area. So probably have something like 150 associations that I currently work with, and we do insure over 30,000 individual members. With me this afternoon is Hayden Dodds-Jones, who is the manager of that area of the trading floor. So he and his team will be the ones that you will be speaking to, and obviously being able to give you information on the products. Kim, who is with us this afternoon, is actually working both on the trading side with Hayden and also with myself. So I think she's just come to have a little look-see this afternoon. So welcome, Kim. Okay, if you could just turn the slide, please, Kash. Okay, to give you a little bit of background then, Towergate Caring Professions are based in Stevenage in Hertfordshire. On site we have about 180 staff, and we have a dedicated team that look after our professional risks. We've been established for many, many years, and our work is to make sure that we reach out to association members to supply products and services that actually meet members' needs and are not just there just for the sake of. And that's why the relationship and the dialogue that I've had with Cash and the team over this year has been really important, and hopefully the communications that you've been receiving from us have been really useful to you. We're absolutely keen to have your feedback this afternoon. Without further ado, I'm going to pass over to Hayden, who's going to take you through some information about why you need the insurance and what it does, and how it can protect you. Hayden, over to you.
Diane, can I just stop you a second? We've had a comment from Mike Allen who says we...
Sorry, I lost you there, Kash.
Cash, you're on mute.
We've got a comment from Mike Allen saying that we're on presenter view. So I'm just going to check that we're not.
Okay.
I don't think we are. Can you see the screen, Nina?
On Facebook or on Zoom? I can see them on both.
Yeah, okay, that's good. Okay, thank you, Diane. You can over to Hayden.
Thank you, Cash. If you could move to the next slide, please, Cash, that would be greatly appreciated. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for the introduction, Diane. I am the sales manager of the care professionals team of Towergate Insurance. I've been with the business coming on to seven joyful years now. I started as a handler, sort of assisting clients with their individual insurance needs, and sort of worked my way to become the sales manager of the team and leading the team in ensuring we provide the right products and services to our customers to ensure that their professional liability needs are met. As a business owner, whether small or large, a sole trader or a larger corporate entity, there are many liabilities to consider when operating a business. So what we look to do in Towergate is offer products to sort of meet those needs, so that in the event that a client were to allege that there were any wrongdoing on your part, sort of unknowingly, of course, or unintentionally, then you have some protection there to protect your business, so that you don't find yourself suffering a loss and having to pay considerable amounts of money to defend yourself. The type of considerations that we ask clients to look at, sort of when looking at their own liabilities, are the types of sort of errors that we can all make from time to time. Sort of being human, it does come naturally. As good as we all may be, we do get it wrong from time to time. That could include things that would be defined as your professional liability. So you may well unknowingly breach a professional code of conduct. You could give a client incorrect advice. A client could subsequently complain to a professional regulatory body about services provided, and you could find yourself having to sort of deal with any disciplinary proceedings as a result of that as well. Additionally, you have the sort of more what we would refer to as the public liability, or the liability to your clients should they injure themselves during the course of visiting you, along with sort of a competitor potentially accusing you of making false or slanderous allegations. Those are the sort of professional liabilities that we've developed a product to assist with in the event that a claim is sought against you. You've got that protection there. It's what we refer to as a full civil liability policy, which includes cover normally provided by professional indemnity, products and public liability, and libel and slander insurance, which is all sort of packaged into one policy, so you get all of that cover as opposed to having to obtain it independently.
Hayden,
in
I'm just going to
addition,
interrupt you there a second.
Yeah.
I've been shown by someone else that this view isn't the right one, so 2 seconds.
No problem at all.
Okay, let's try again.
Excellent, thank you.
Is that where we're up to?
Yeah, that's it. Thank you, Cash. Appreciate it. Yeah. So additionally, we identified that clients may have some liabilities or need assistance from a legal standpoint. You know, whether that be that they have a dispute with the client over sort of monies owed for services rendered, or just generally where, as a business owner, you may have an HMRC tax investigation carried out into your tax affairs. So we've included a commercial legal expenses insurance within our product as standard to assist with those types of things, amongst many others. There's a wealth of sort of cover available under that. Again, as I mentioned, that we include as standard. And then also your employer's liability. So if you were to have employees, I appreciate it doesn't sort of apply to everyone, but where it does, it is a legal requirement. So whilst we don't include that cover as standard in this policy, we do offer it, and we can assist as and where that cover may be needed. purchasing our policy is as straightforward as people want it to be, really. So we do have a facility where you can purchase the product online. Details of which should be at the end of this slide, but it's towergateinsurance.co.uk, where you can get cover for a sole trader in as little as 5 minutes. Though obviously you don't speak to an advisor per se who will walk you through the sort of individual cover sections of the policy and give you the advice as to the product being offered. But you are able to do that sort of very straightforward and simply on the website. Or alternatively, if you do prefer to discuss your needs with an advisor, we have a dedicated team who works sort of office hours Monday to Friday, supporting our clients with any questions that they might have, giving them advice on the products that we offer, and help assessing their needs to ensure that they get the right cover in place. I will ask Cash if I share a link to our website so that we can share that on the Facebook page as well. That would be good if that's an opportunity available to us. That's about summarizes the professional liabilities and what we do here. Just onto some of the things that we've done for our clients. So Cash, if we could move to the next slide, please. One of the things that we like to do at Towergate is to try and provide a superior service to our clients. We aim to provide a superior service because we want to be the best broker there is. I'm sure most brokers would say the same, but just to give a demonstration as to what we've done to try and support ourselves, our clients, sorry, throughout the sort of COVID-19 pandemic that we all find ourselves living in. We sat down and tried to identify the sorts of issues that our clients might be having. So whether that be, working remotely or having their staff or themselves having to set up remotely where they may not necessarily have done that previously, the potential for reduced income due to being unable to work or working shorter hours if employers aren't able to provide the hours that you need, or your clients just simply don't need the level of support that they may have during sort of normal operation. The furlough scheme, what that meant for you, your staff potentially. And then just generally speaking, the fact that if people are earning less, naturally they're going to scrutinize expenditure. One of the common themes, this isn't isolated to Towergate, that was noticed as across the industry, was the fact that a lot of insurance policies were being cancelled. And as insurance brokers, whilst we have a vested interest in policies not being cancelled, we actually wanted to ensure that where people were cancelling policies, that they were aware of the potential implications in doing so, because it is that there are implications, particularly with business liability insurances, that we felt were important to raise awareness on for our customers, so that they didn't find themselves losing a load of money if a claim were made, and they find that by cancelling or reducing their cover, they didn't necessarily have the cover that they needed. Along with the more sort of general inquiries, am I covered for working online or remotely? We negotiated with our insurer to make sure that our policy did extend to provide that cover, which it does, and we don't need to refer that into insurers and ask a dozen questions to ascertain as to whether that cover is provided. We've had that confirmed as included as standard. Additionally, if someone were to allege that in coming to visit you when permitted and in accordance with government guidelines that you had transmitted COVID-19 to them, would you have any protection to deal with that allegation? Again, our policy doesn't include any exclusion in that regard, and there would be the cover there. Of course, probably difficult to prove that someone obtained the virus from a single source, but nevertheless, it only takes someone to allege that you've done something wrong or something hasn't been done properly for there to be costs in defending a potential claim. That probably about summarizes my part, Cash.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to hand over to Diane to sort of cover some of the other things that we've done as a business.
Thank you, Hayden. Does anyone, before I move on, does anyone have any questions?
I actually have a question. It's Nina.
Hi, Nina.
So that last point about the cover for any claim arising from COVID. So have you had any people? I mean, I just can't get my head around that. What would somebody be? They'd sue somebody because they think they've passed on COVID to them, or
That is the concern, Nina, from a lot of people that are doing face-to-face work, that obviously if they do go into someone's home and then there is an allegation that they have infected them, and 100% agree with you, how difficult would it be to prove? However, obviously if an allegation is made, it has to be investigated, and obviously people do need to know that they've actually got the insurance cover that would actually do that for them.
Right.
And just to add to that, Nina, as Diane mentions there, those defence costs, those initial defence costs, solicitors aren't cheap, and having someone prepare a formal response on your behalf, you know, so even to sort of bat that claim away, that there is going to be a cost to that, and almost certainly would probably outweigh the cost of a policy potentially. So obviously depending on circumstances, but more often than not it probably would. So we thought it was really important to make sure that our customers had that, so that even if it was as simple as a solicitor squaring that one away, that they knew that they had that support where they needed it, really.
Yeah, thank you.
Can I also ask, we've got a question here from Mike Allen. How is your insurance any different for NLP to the one I have for my IT contracting business? Is this specific to NLP coaching, or should I be covered with the other one because it's standard business insurance we're talking about here?
So naturally, no two insurance policies are identical unless they're provided by the same insurer on the same terms. So the immediate response to that is we wouldn't extend to provide the IT sector isn't a profession for which we are able to provide cover on this policy type. So they would in effect be two separate things. If the current insurer were able to provide the cover for the NLP, the practitioning, then potentially that may negate the need to obtain an alternative insurance policy. That obviously we would then recommend that the physical cover being provided be reviewed to ensure that the policy, the alternative policy, provided the appropriate cover. Obviously, we have tailored products that we've developed in accordance or alongside our association partners. So we are confident that in the event of a valid claim being made under the policy, that it would meet our clients' needs. I wouldn't be able to obviously, of course, comment on another policy without sort of having sight of the terms effectively.
Thank you for that, Hayden. Mike, please let me know if that's answered your question. Miriam has also asked, I'm not clear, if someone were to have an accident in my office, am I covered for that?
Again, it's actually very much dependent on the circumstances surrounding the claim. So if you owned the property, as an example, that would all depend on the way in which that injury occurred. Of course, there has to be proof of sort of negligence on your part, e.g. I use my office as an example where we have more old-fashioned carpet tiles. If one of them were sort of protruding from the floor and someone were to trip over and fall, then that would likely be a valid claim, but that would possibly, depending on the agreement with the landlord or if you own the property, be a property owner's liability claim. Whereas as an individual practitioner, if you were to rent a room, as an example, and someone comes to visit you in that room and you have a laptop cable running across the floor and someone trips over that, that's more of a public liability claim, because it's not necessarily a defective piece of the property, it's your own liability. That is obviously, of course, unintentionally, but that is a liability that you've caused, or a claim that you're responsible for effectively.
Thank you. Just to finish off Mike's question there before I go into Abu Yusra, Mike says, Is this specific NLP insurance though, or generic business insurance?
This is specific to NLP. We do have a range of professions that we insure, from counsellors to psychotherapists to HR consultants, where we're able to provide them sort of the same product type, but this is specific to those professions, the professions that we have agreed with our insurer partners.
Thank you for that. Abu Yusra has asked the question, is training, in inverted commas, a permitted activity due to COVID-19? I'm based in London and have a course coming up in Birmingham. Can I travel? Can I run the course? I think from my perspective, I would answer that by saying, what are the government guidelines?
Yeah,
and I'll defer to Diane and Aidan on that as well.
Yeah, 100%. We would say you do need to look at the government guidelines. Obviously, there are new guidelines that have come out today with the new tiers coming into force next week. So you do need to check if you can actually do that. We can't give you specific advice on that. That has to be something that comes from the government, and the government website is updated consistently with that information, so I would refer you to that. I did have a look on it myself before lunch, and it has got information on what is covered within each of the tiers, and as you say, you know exactly which tier you're sitting in, so just refer to that.
Yeah.
So I'm going to move on now to talk about how we have tried to support our clients during the pandemic. As Hayden alluded to, there's been lots of questions coming in from members. Sorry, Kush, could you just go back to the previous slide for a minute? That's all right, that's fine. There's been lots of questions coming in from members around what can we do? Is this okay? Am I allowed to do this? So we have teamed with our health and safety experts, our legal team, our insurance experts, health and safety advisors, and we produce something called the Towergate COVID-19 Hub. That hub has a wealth of information on it and is updated regularly and does follow government guidelines. So absolutely following this presentation this afternoon, you can have access to that. It's got a wealth of information on it. It will help and guide you as to what you should be doing. One of the big areas of concern for people is where they are looking to return to face-to-face working. And again, if it's in accordance with government guidelines that you can do so, absolutely understand that people are concerned about going to work in other people's houses to see clients, or indeed in their own homes. So we've worked very closely with our health and safety consultants to produce a risk assessment that you can undertake prior to either seeing someone in your own home or visiting them in theirs. And it takes you through the things that you should be considering. If at the end of completing that risk assessment, you're not comfortable with the environment in which you're going to be entering, or you're not happy for them to have for them to come into your home, absolutely you can point out that you have undertaken a risk assessment. Part of that will be to ask the client and anybody living in that property as to whether there is anybody currently being tested positive for COVID-19. Has anyone been affected by the condition? Are there any reasons for them to be self-isolating at this time? Do they have vulnerable people, obviously people over the age of 60, that they need to consider before you enter? Providing the government guidelines say you can actually go ahead and do the face-to-face consultation. If you're happy, having completed the risk assessment, you should complete it and then retain it that you've undertaken that and you've done everything you possibly can. It'll also cover you around PPE, social distancing, having windows open, all the sort of things that we've heard Boris talk about will be included in that. So I will make that available to Cash after this, and absolutely if you feel that you would like to complete it, and indeed at the end of it, if you think, well, actually I'm not really sure whether this works for me, we do have access for you to have a conversation with a health and safety advisor who will give you some guidance as to what other measures you might need to take, what other things you perhaps should consider. It has been proved to be very successful with the associations that we've spoken to already. I think in this sort of world of confusion that we're living in at the moment, it's really good to have something that you can actually refer to as a tick list, because it is so easy to miss something because you're doing something on a day-to-day basis. Equally, as Hayden said, if you are changing the way you're working from face-to-face to do remote working, absolutely the policy covers you for that, and you don't need to advise us in advance. What I would say, in the event of a claim, it is really important that you can demonstrate that you have adhered to what the guidelines are at all times. Any questions on that part before I move on to cyber?
Thanks for that, Diane. We'll just wait a couple of seconds for Facebook to
Yep.
catch up. There's a 20-second delay, I believe, on the video. No, okay. I think let's move on, and then we can come back if we need to.
Yeah, absolutely. So if we can move to the next slide, please.
Okay.
Okay, so everyone likes being top of the rankings. This is probably one that we don't really want to be as high up in as we currently are. Prior to the pandemic, the UK was ranked the 4th country in terms of cyber attacks. That unfortunately has increased dramatically during the pandemic. So since March, we have seen the survey that TSB conducted back in April that found 42% of people suspected that they had been the target of phishing during the COVID-19 outbreak. That now is around 63%, and that is massive, really. That's affecting a lot of people. It's not just your big corporate entities. Unfortunately, it is the man in the street, the self-employed person. And one of the most common issues is where people are using personal devices for business purposes as well. So it's really got a dual purpose. Phishing is probably the most common reason for a cyber attack in these areas, and absolutely, whilst you can't 100% ever protect yourself, we absolutely encourage you to consider what you would do in the event that you did be the subject of a cyber attack. I'm just going to give you a story which Hayden is really tired of hearing now, but I do try and make it different for him every time I do it. I actually dealt with a customer during the pandemic who was a self-employed counsellor. He'd had his business for 5 years. It was his sole income, and he was supporting his family on it. During the pandemic, he changed the way he was working to actually working from home and doing remote consultations, and he was using his device for both personal and business purposes. Unfortunately, he was subject of a cyber attack, and the cyber experts, as they were, got into his system, and they obtained a lot of client information as well, bank details and where he was collecting payments, information on consultations that he'd had with his clients. These people are not precious about where they put their information out, and unfortunately a number of his clients subsequently also were the subject of cyber incidents. He was very open and honest and told his clients that this had happened to him, and unfortunately they had gained access to some personal information. People obviously feel very vulnerable in that situation and really didn't react very positively to it, and took to social media to actually say that they felt it was really inappropriate, that the information had not been stored in a more secure environment, etc., etc. Unfortunately, the result of the social media activity and other activity actually highlighting what had happened to specific individuals resulted in this gentleman having to close his business. So he went from having a very successful business that he had built up over a 5-year period overnight to having no business at all as a result of a cyber attack. That is probably one of the worst cases that you're going to hear about, but it is a true story, and it is something that when it happens puts people in a very, very vulnerable situation. I'm sure all of you have heard a lot in the news recently about cyber and how it is on the increase. I would actually actively encourage you to think about what precautions you've got in place for your own equipment at this moment in time. How well protected do you think you are? How vigilant are you when you do get emails that you think are from people that you've had relationships with, be it BT, Sky Sports? All of the hackers are very, very clever at taking these guys' logos, putting them onto emails, and it's only if you really drill into the email that you will realise it's not a corporate email, it's actually coming from people that are seeking to get information, and that's one of sort of the key areas that has been seen over the period. We have a cyber expert team who would be very happy to talk to you about the different levels of insurance protection you can actually take out. and obviously depending on that level that you wanted to consider, it would give you access to certain facilities in the event that it happens. Obviously, you know, the full package where someone actually comes in, supports you, is able to communicate with your clients about what's happened is the top tier. But actually at the sort of entry level, if you like, of an insurance product, you can actually get access to up to 12 hours cover for someone to actually come in and help restore your equipment back into a situation where you are able to work again. If you are the victim of a cyber attack, I can absolutely assure you, talking to other people, it's a horrible situation to be in, and it can be a very dark place if you haven't got anyone to support you. So absolutely, I'd 100% encourage you to come and talk to the team. There is no onus on you to take the policy, but at least to understand what is available to help you and support you in the event that that does happen. Hayden, if you could just please take us through now the 3 levels of cover that are available, and then obviously we can open the floor up to any questions around cyber and anything else that you'd like to cover. Hayden.
Absolutely, thank you, Diane. So as a broker, we've taken quite a proactive approach. Sort of within our division, we insure a range of sectors from, as I mentioned before, counsellors, psychotherapists, ANLP practitioners, all the way through to, you know, physical care homes and domiciliary carers and so on and so forth. So about a year and a half ago, we carried out an exercise to establish the products that we felt best suited the sectors that we served individually, because we have a sort of range of insurers that we could use, and the insurer that we have identified for this target or this market or this sector, sorry, is an insurer by the name of Beazley. They are a Lloyd's syndicate insurer, and they offer, as Diane alluded, 3 sort of sections of cover. The first 2 are actually more services as opposed to traditional insurance cover, where their Beazley team would initially provide what is referred to as their breach response service. So that is where they would support you in the event that you felt something had happened, in identifying whether a breach has occurred. If so, what type of breach is it, and to what extent has that breach gone effectively. From there, they would also then get their sort of technical teams in to stop that from escalating, you know, try and get on top of it sooner than later, so as to ensure that if data has been compromised or your systems and so forth have been compromised, that they can take steps to mitigate any further loss. You then have what they refer to as their notification service. So that is where they've identified the breach, and they actually step in as experts and will assist you in reaching out to your customers, because you will have an obligation to do so in accordance with sort of ICO and legislation to notify people where there has been a data breach, depending on circumstances, and if so, you will have a team of experts there to support you through that process, to make sure that, you know, the message is being articulated in the right way, the messaging is true and accurate and reflective of the steps that you've taken as a business to prevent further loss, or to demonstrate the extent to which the breach has occurred, and what steps have been taken to try and resolve the situation. So supporting you from a reputational perspective as well, the example that Diane mentioned before, sort of simply writing out to your customers and explaining that there has been a breach. It can a message can be construed in many ways, and whilst, you know, if you run your own business, you are no doubt more than capable, it does help to have someone or teams of experts who deal with this type of thing day in, day out, to support you through this, because they've seen it all. They know what to do effectively. From there, you then get what is actually referred to as the first party liability, or where that's more what a traditional insurance policy would do. That's where, if a client or a supplier or someone who is connected with your business and has been affected by this breach has suffered a loss, or you've been issued with any fines or penalties from the ICO, there is cover there to support you with that. So in physically paying those damages that have been awarded to these individuals, if they have suffered a financial loss, you get the physical cover provided by an insurer to indemnify you in that regard. So those are the three sections of cover, as I said, provided through our preferred provider, Beazley, which we've identified for this sector as the insurer that provides the best scope of cover for the at the most competitive premiums is what we found.
Can I just ask a question, Hayden? This slide that we're currently looking at talks about phishing and smishing.
Yeah.
Is this is what you're talking about the advice that you can give on behalf of companies, so a company that has had a data breach, or is it individuals who have been the victims of a data breach?
So, good question.
It would be individuals, wouldn't it, Hayden?
So yeah, so it depends on what effectively which section of cover is triggered. So if, as an example, a phishing email has been sent to your customers asking them for their bank details, as an example, by you because you were hacked, all right, and some of them subsequently provide those details, and those banks suffer a loss as a result, you would have the first party loss. And the other two services in identifying the breach and notifying those clients that actually, apologies, that was a phishing email and it wasn't actually from us. And then you also get the first party liability that will actually pay the damages for those people that may have lost money as a consequence of that phishing email. Another example of phishing emails are sort of with businesses and their suppliers. So as an example, if your business email address is hacked and subsequently those hackers send one of your suppliers an invoice to settle, and that supplier settles the invoice, that money is still owed to you as a business, or vice versa, then you have the cover in place for that as well. Because from a legal standpoint, even if the email incorrectly came from you, if the invoice is settled by the third party to another party, that money is still owed, even though it's gone to the wrong people. So again, you get that support to assist you in that regard. Whereas you might find, let's say if it were in the reverse and you've been sent an invoice from a hacker, and you settle that invoice, well, even though it's been settled unknowingly to a third party, you would likely find that if there were a dispute between you and that initial supplier, you would probably still have to settle that invoice. That would depend on the relationship that you had with the business as to whether they would pursue that, but I suppose that would depend on the sort of sums of money in question, really.
Thank you for that.
Okay, so I think that is the end of our presentation for this afternoon. Very happy now to take any questions that you might have. I know that this has been recorded this afternoon and these slides can be made available to you afterwards, so you will have the links in them for the different areas that we spoke about as we walked through the slides this afternoon. And obviously, as I said, I will send Cash information on the risk assessments for you as well.
Thank you for that. We don't appear to have any more questions on Facebook. Thank you very much for that. I think the insurance industry has been through a tumultuous time over the past 8 or 9 months. I'm going to stop sharing the screen now. And I mean, do you have any comment? Because obviously we've had experience of the insurance industry during this time with the ANLP conference. How have you found it as people within the industry?
It is what we call a hard market at the moment. So, you know, many insurers are applying more stringent terms to their policies. Many are actually like pulling out of markets altogether. It's an ever-moving feast, and with the Brexit conversation as well, it has been very volatile. As a broker, we are lucky because we're not tied to a single insurer, so obviously we have a product and capacity team that can actually seek new facilities if they are required. Equally, we do have very strong relationships with our insurers, which has obviously enabled us to make tweaks to the policy to react to the changing world that we've been living in this year. I think 2021 will be a challenging year for everybody. I think the insurance industry will see more tightening of reins across covers that are available, and I would absolutely encourage anybody when you get your renewals to check your renewal documentation very carefully to make sure that there's been no exclusions applied to your policy. I would also suggest to you that if you are covered with another insurer, that you do check in relation to what cover there is for COVID-19 and pandemic. Some insurers are not providing any cover at all and won't necessarily advise you, but obviously when you go to claim, you would then find out. So I would actively encourage you to look at your current wording, but certainly at renewal, have a look and see what if there's been any new terms imposed on the policy.
Thank you for that, Diane. I'd just like to mention that ANLP members get a discount with Towergate. We're very keen that for professional standards that business insurance is part of any practicing NLP business, and we'd thoroughly recommend that you get hold of Towergate to get a quote for your business. I think thank you for sharing those slides, and I think the additional information, the advice lines, the support hubs that you mentioned, if you make those available to us as well offline, we can distribute those and make sure that everyone gets those, because I'm sure this video will be watched by many others after the time today. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us, and we'll forward any questions to you as well, because you're the experts.
Lovely, thank you very much. Good afternoon and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye-bye.
Thanks everyone for joining us. Thank you.